All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this stuff done. Bling Graphics has been so cool and so patient with me. I've been swamped with work and finally got a little bit of time this Saturday to get these bad boys put on. So I'm gonna let them soak up a little bit of sunlight and then we'll get started. There's the steed. Gonna go ahead and freshen this thing up. It's gonna look good. Here's our official before. And we'll check it out as get the graphics on and see what the after looks like. Yeah. All right, so I might put graphics on a little bit different than most other people. There's all different methods out there. Some people use like a Windex or some sort of liquid, I guess, or spray on to kind of set the graphics. I've always just kind of placed them dry. I do the graphics with the plastics on the bike, and then I kind of find basically the touch points of each corner or edge of the graphic, and then take my thumb and run it down the highest elevation rib section of that panel, and then basically have everything else slowly fall over above and below that rib line or that ridge line, and then just kind of get everything settled. The heat gun has made a huge difference for putting graphics on for me. I don't know if you guys use heat guns, but it's really helped the overall seal of the graphic and just get rid of any bubbles as you lay over those more aggressive contours on the plastic. So that's something that I've been using a lot more in the last probably 4 kits I've put on. Put graphics on a ton over the years, probably over, I don't know, 50, 60 kits at least. So it's probably less than a lot of you guys, but still quite a bit for me. So I've got pretty good knack for it. I enjoy it. It's kind of therapeutic in a way if you have the time to do it. Just finding the time is the hard part. But once you get those on, this one has separate sections, upper and lower radiator. So basically just made sure that the overlap section or the section where they kind of cut are lined up exactly or as close to exact as possible. And then again, use that heat gun to get all these little ridges folded over nice and tight onto the aggressive part of the mold on the shroud. And that way they seal up nice and tight. On the front plate, I have the Ride Engineering cable route for the front brake cable or front brake line. And so basically I took the heat gun and melted the little plastic holes flush so that they're not as obtrusive. And then basically start again, line it up centered, find that middle ridge line, and just mold the left and the right as we lay them down with the heat gun. And I just kind of try and keep a nice tight consistent pressure with my fingers as I slide over each section of the graphic. And typically this helps alleviate any bubbles, but sometimes some come through. So you'll see usually in the next day or so if a bubble starts to create a little bigger pocket. And then you'll see the same process on these two, the back shrouds. The YZ250 is actually pretty easy to lay down, thankfully, and whatever these Bling Graphics is the company that produced these. Whatever material they use is more like a vinyl instead of like a traditional graphic sticker, I guess. So they don't crease very easily and they don't seem to show bubbles very easily. And with the heat, really helps spread on nice and evenly. And I hadn't had many issues with any bubbles on them. So again, you can see I go through the ridge lines. I want to make sure that the aggressive contours of the panel are really seated well, and I don't want any of those gaps to arise as the vinyl stretched, right? So if it's stretched, it'll start to peel off and you'll get those little dirt channels in between the panel where there's an aggressive edge. So I want to try and lay it in and have it so it's not strained, and then heat gun it in so it really seals into the crease. Airbox, super easy panel. And then the rear fender, same thing. Hardest part about this is just getting it lined up straight front to back. Hit that ridge line again, highest peak, and then work left to right as we lay down the rest of the graphic. on both sides. So you'll see this seating pretty well, and came out really nicely. There's a little bit of a rib on the very end of the fender, which is where the Yamaha logo is split on the Yamaha. So these graphics have it cut there, so that's why there's a little bit of a gap there. And yeah, went on super easy. I feel like most of the manufacturers are starting to give us easier panels to lay graphics on. They're a little more flat. And I remember the old CRF rear exhaust number plates were so hard to do. A lot of the 4-stroke rear number plates on the exhaust side are super difficult, but quite a challenge. And then for the shroud, you'll see we just kind of do this again, the same process. Find our touch points left to right and top to bottom, and then I just put it on again, dry. Make sure that the plastic panel itself, you've done some I think it's some rubbing alcohol, denatured alcohol, to help keep the plastic clear of any oils or anything that may make it rise. Not necessarily a must, but it always helps with adhesion. And then just run the ridge again, and then we fold everything over, crease it into place, and get those things nice and snug. Get all the bubbles out on the edges and make sure everything's nice and tight. So far so good. We'll go ahead and move on to the next portion here and get this thing almost completed. Number plate on the left side, super easy except that top ridge. So I like to start with the finger points again at the left and the right, lay it down, and then we want to lay it into that ridge. It'll be a little bit hard to lay down here as it gets tighter, and then all of a sudden it'll fold and drop down into place. Heat gun all the edges, and you're good to go. Looking pretty good so far. All right, so we are done with the bike. Let's go ahead and check it out. I've got to say, first time I've ever used bling graphics, and they honestly were like the easiest things I've ever put on. So let's go ahead and scope it out. Here's the shot. This thing is sick. It's got kind of like a MotoGP flair to it. Real racy, I guess. With I don't know, it just looks current, looks fresh. Got all these folks on here. SDG photos. Shout out to my buddy Justin. Sean Padgett Realty. If you're in Idaho, let me know. We've got a real estate team out here. We do buy, sell, invest. I got 10 folks on the team to help you out whatever way you need. YZ250, gotta represent the 2-stroke. Electron, which is sitting on the workbench. We're gonna put that on and just get this thing super set up. Gotta get her looking crisp first, so what do you guys think? Did you enjoy the video? What do you guys think about the way I put graphics on? If you like it, is it how you do it? What do you think? Alright, thanks guys for watching. Check out my other videos if you haven't seen them already. And stay tuned for this thing as it gets some more mods and we start riding as it warms up.